Okay, so let's set the scene. It's February 2026, and all eyes in the AI world are suddenly on New Delhi. The city is hosting the first ever AI Impact Summit in the Global South, which, is a huge deal. It puts India right at the center of this massive global conversation about our future with technology. The buzz was just incredible. You had tech leaders flying in from all over the world, and the message was just overwhelmingly optimistic. Demis Hassabis, the CEO of Google DeepMind, I think he really captured the feeling in the room with this quote. He saw India as a future AI superpower. This wasn't just another tech conference, it was a huge declaration of ambition. But right in the middle of all this excitement, a new policy report drops, and it asks a much tougher, more pointed question. It really challenged that whole official narrative, basically asking what is the actual cost of pushing for all this technology so fast? And that's the tension we're going to dive into. All right, so first, let's look at the official story. This is the grand vision of India's ambition to become a true leader in AI, not just for itself, but for the entire global south. And we're not just talking about ideas here. This vision is backed by some serious cash. At the summit, Mukesh Ambani pledged a mind-boggling 10 lakh crore rupees. To put that in perspective, we're talking over $1 trillion. That's money that Jio and Reliance are pouring into this over the next 7 years. This is a massive, nation-building level of investment. And if you were on the expo floor, it was like stepping into the future. There are actual humanoid robots ready for factories and farms, large language models that could speak India's many different languages, and even AI-powered smart glasses designed and built right there. It was a powerful preview of a huge technological leap. To back all this up, Prime Minister Modi laid out the government's official framework for AI, calling it the M.A.N.A.V vision. And the acronym itself kind of tells the story. It's meant to be a human-centric approach, making sure AI is moral, accountable, sovereign, accessible, and legitimate. So on paper, this looks like a really thoughtful blueprint for doing AI the right way. Okay, but away from all the flashy presentations and the main stage, a very different story was starting to take shape. This policy report, with the pretty intense title, AI Governance at the Edge of Democratic Backsliding, painted a picture that was, starkly different. It pointed to a darker impact these new tools were already having. And this report gets right to the point. Its core argument is pretty startling. It claims there's a huge gap between the official talk and what's happening on the ground. It alleges that AI is already being used as a political weapon, to create deeper social divides and to target minorities. And look, this isn't just some abstract academic theory. The report points to real-world examples, like this AI-generated video that was shared by the BJP's Awesome State Unit just a week before the big summit. It was called No Mercy, and it actually showed the state's chief minister shooting at figures that looked like Muslim men. The video was eventually taken down after a lot of public anger. And when you dig into the report, it documents a really disturbing pattern in this kind of AI-generated content. As you can see, a huge chunk of it is focused on demonizing Muslim men and sexualizing Muslim women. It also found content spreading wild conspiracy theories, like something called real jihad after train accidents, and of course targeting political opponents. The whole point the report is making here is that this isn't just random trolling. It feels systematic. This gets us to a really tricky problem with a lot of this tech, the whole dual-use issue, especially with things like facial recognition. Officially, it's pitched for great causes, right? Finding missing kids. But the report shines a light on how it's also being used to identify protesters and to conduct mass surveillance, a lot of the time with no real rules or oversight. And it's not just about surveillance. The report goes on to detail the absolutely devastating human cost when these algorithmic systems are used for things like social welfare. It talks about starvation deaths because the Aadhaar biometric ID system failed, pregnant women denied food because a facial recognition app glitched, and elderly people losing their pensions because a database just declared them dead by mistake. These aren't just technical errors. These are glitches with real life or death consequences for people. So what this all boils down to is a fundamental conflict, really a clash, at the very heart of India's AI journey. It's a battle between that incredible drive for fast-paced innovation and the really urgent need to protect basic human rights. And you can see this conflict really clearly in the government's own official stance. This quote from its AI governance guidelines pretty much says it all. The argument is that right now, the priority should be innovation, not what they call cautionary restraint or compliance-heavy regulation. It's a move fast and don't let rules get in the way kind of philosophy. But as you can imagine, critics look at that and say, this hands-off approach creates a massive accountability gap. The government says, let's just use existing laws, but the report counters that this puts an unfair burden on the most vulnerable people to somehow prove they've been harmed. The government wants voluntary codes, but critics say that's not enough. You need clear rules about who's responsible when AI messes up. And there's no independent body to watch over how the government itself is using AI. So where does this all leave us? Well, it really seems like India is standing at a crossroads, facing two completely different futures for its AI journey.
On the one hand, you've got that bright, shiny vision from the summit, India as an economic powerhouse using AI to help everyone, with innovation totally unleashed. And on the other hand, you have the report's stark warning, an India that becomes a surveillance state, where AI actually makes discrimination worse, and where innovation charges ahead with no real accountability. These are the two competing stories at the very heart of India's AI dilemma.
And that really leaves us with one final huge question. And this one goes way beyond just India. As this incredible, world-changing technology becomes part of our lives, who is ultimately responsible for the consequences? When things go wrong, who really bears the cost of progress?
Not sure which skills will move you forward? Skill Tree Learning makes it clear. From SAP and Microsoft to data analytics and generative AI,